Today on Sounds Gouda, it's finally here. Training camp is underway. Welcome back to another episode of Sounds Gouda. My name is Kalani Jones. I'm the host of Green Bay Breakdowns presented by Sounds Gouda. First off, thanks to any new and returning listeners to the show. You can find us here every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And don't forget to catch us on the new sports platform Buzzer. If you are not yet a subscriber to Sounds Gouda on YouTube, it's the perfect time to join. We are still running our free merch giveaway. Every 50 subscribers, we do a raffle of all of our public subscribers. And we are well on our way of hitting our next benchmark. So go ahead and hit that button and you will be automatically entered. Also, while you're here, make sure to use those super chats, super stickers, and super thanks. It's a great way to interact with us and to support the channel. We are officially 85.9% of the way through the offseason. Yes, I know technically the offseason is over. However, this is a countdown to the really big day. So we are 85.9% of the way to that. NFL news, a couple of injuries around the league in training camp. Nick Scouterton from the Panthers is likely done for the year. Ricky Pearsall from the 49ers, most likely done for the year, increasingly likely, I would say. A couple other injuries for the 49ers. No, the electrical substation is not at fault. However, they do seem to be cursed. Just today, we have news of Bears free agent addition safety Kobe Bryant was carted off of their practice field. Appears to be a hyperextended knee, could be out about 8 to 10 weeks. The Packers do play the Bears in exactly 10 weeks. However, hoping that injury proves not to be that serious. Just a bummer to hear about this early into the process of things. And it goes to show you really just have to be so lucky in the NFL, and lucky with injuries is always chief among that statement. Again, just hoping for a quick recovery for all of those guys. In other news, we are only one day away from a real, true, actual NFL game. Maybe not quite. The Hall of Fame game between the Cardinals and the Panthers will begin at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on August 6th. And I look forward to the annual tradition of tuning in for the first quarter or so of that game, only to remember that it's always a really bad game. But Sela V, and the game itself is really, it's only secondary to the broad general fact that football is back. Jadeveon Clowney reunites with the Houston Texans this week. There were a lot of rumors that the Packers would be interested in him. I never really thought that would happen. The only way is it would have been if all of our young edge rushers just completely fell on their face in training camp. The Packers probably would have had to have hit the panic button and gone after a veteran like Clowney. But it doesn't sound like that was the case at all. In Packers news, Zach Tom is no more. There is no longer a Zach Tom on the Green Bay Packers roster. And that's because he has legally changed his name, going from Zach Tom to Zach Bako Bowele. It is a change to honor his own Nigerian heritage, that Bako Bowele is a combination of his grandparents' native names, to my understanding. I love it. I love when Packers do stuff like this, when players do stuff like this. And as far as I'm concerned, it's a massive aura increase. But getting down to it, in training camp news, lots of stuff to go over. I'm obviously not going to try to just sit here and accomplish a full week one Packers camp review, because I'd be here all day. But I do have a couple of threads that I would like to pull on, and some things that we can generally state about what we have learned in the first week of training camp. Number one, injuries are already a problem. We already talked about it with some other NFL teams. Injuries do start to happen at this point, but starting the year healthy is it's so important. A lot of the Packers' injury woes last season began in training camp. It was a case of a snowball just rolling down a hill and just gathering momentum until it becomes an avalanche. You gotta feel the most bad for Luke Musgrave, though. This guy cannot catch a break. 3 years of being injured, and now in training camp, he's held out due to a neck injury. According to Matt LaFleur, it's not necessarily serious, but it does mean that he needs to be eased back into things. He is on the PUP right now. But neck injuries are always serious. We heard Matt say that. Neck injuries, head injuries, and heart injuries. All of those are the most important issues. I really, really hope that we don't hear about Musgrave having this issue again. Long snapper Matt Orzech is out were also on the PUP list, which cost the team a couple days of special teams drills. They have signed a backup long snapper, so now they are doing those drills again. But again, it just keeps going on. Carrington Valentine has missed a few days at this point. Javon Hargrave is on the PUP list. Today, Luke Lachey left the building in a walking boot and on a scooter, so that's probably something that the Packers are going to have to deal with. Another blow to their tight end depth. This is probably the point where the Packers are going to look at adding an outside option at tight ends. I would look at Will Dissly as my first choice personally, but we'll have to see what the Packers come up with. Next up, according to all reports, the rookies are doing pretty well out there, except for Trey Smack, of course. And I'm sorry, but I can't do the Smack thing, guys. It's obvious they aren't going to be giving him any real competition. So I refuse to memorize the amount of kicks that he makes and misses every day and report them. Wake me up when the kicks matter, and until then, he's going to be the kicker. I digress. Brandon Cisse has been getting a lot of work with the one so far. I mentioned that Valentine has missed a few days of camp in a row. Keyshawn Nixon missed the first day of camp. Cisse is getting those snaps in their place, and he's made the most of it. 2 weeks ago, we talked about how it would be a really, really good sign if Cisse was getting first-round reps at this point. And that is kind of what we're looking at right now. Chris McClellan is also getting his fair share of reps with the ones. Obviously, there's a massive rotation amongst the defensive tackles right now, with Devontae Wyatt and Javon Hargrave both missing time. But that's not to take anything away from McClellan. And this is one rotation that I don't mind at this point, because from a development perspective, Wyatt and Hargrave are veterans. They don't need these early camp reps as much as the young defensive tackles do. So we've seen Nazir Stackhouse and Warren Brinson get some love with the ones. We've seen, of course, Carl Brooks, but we've also seen guys like Anthony Campbell, who's having a really, really impressive training camp so far. Every day he's out there, and there's some report of a massive play that he makes. He's swatting balls down. I think he's gotten 3 or 4 of them so far during camp, which is extremely impressive. And speaking of the defensive line, how about Denai Dennis Sutton? Getting not as much time as edge as he is on the interior defensive line so far in training camp, which is really, really interesting. Obviously, going back to his scouting days, he played on the interior at Penn State as well. And he's already an insanely athletic guy. He is a big guy. But again, going back, DDS was one of the guys that I did a prospect preview series on. And in that episode, I stated that I didn't think that he would be effective as a defensive tackle in the NFL. I do look forward to being proven wrong if DDS can do that. And he's one of these guys who has gotten really high praise from Matt LaFleur already. Matt is known to be a pretty stoic guy when it comes to this stuff. He doesn't give out high praise super willingly, so it's noteworthy. Yeager Burton has missed a day or 2 of practice with a hamstring strain. He is back now just in time for the pads to come on today on Monday as I'm recording this, and he is practicing mainly with the second string guys right now at left guard, which I think is intriguing. I think it's probably his most likely spot to play if he does get called up in case of an Aaron Banks injury. So I like that he's starting there. I like that they are letting Anthony Belton and Sean Ryan settle in at their new positions. I don't remember if he's gotten major time with the ones yet. I do not believe so. There's certainly still time for that. A couple of standouts for me so far in training camp. Zaire Franklin. Everything I've heard so far is that he looks awesome, constantly putting the brakes on run plays, making backfield stops. Nothing so far about the defense ever being out of position, being miscommunications on the field. And I can't imagine that he and X they should already have a really good communication system figured out. And it's so crucial to have the front 7 synced up with the secondary. So it's great that we have those 2 really good communicators together. But Zaire Franklin looks at home in the Jonathan Gannon defense. Jordan Morgan so far at left tackle. No news is good news when it comes to offensive linemen. So far we've really had nothing but good news about Jordan Morgan. We haven't heard anything about him. The majority of us will have to wait until family night in order to really get an eye on him at his new left tackle position. But by all accounts, so far so good. And I would also put Anthony Belton in this category. No news is good news. The wide receivers are playing great with their new roles. We did hear what probably was a little bit of a spoiler from Jordan Love that Matthew Golden is basically taking over the X receiver role, the Romeo Dobbs role. It's not going to be a one-for-one substitution. As Dusty evilly pointed out on Twitter, and as Matt LaFleur himself has said, they do so much rotating of those guys in and out of the spaces. I think it's probably just a name under a depth chart for all intents and purposes. And to be clear, in the Packers playbook, under X receiver, the definition is it's just the receiver on the weak side of the play. But it doesn't make sense. You are keeping Watson in the Watson role. You want Jaden Reed to be able to do Jaden Reed things. So Golden gets the X spot. Another shout out for the wide receivers is Isaiah Nair, who continues to impress. Another guy who got a Matt LaFleur shout out. And then finally, Jonathan Gannon himself. So much speculation over the course of the offseason about what his defense was going to look like, how he was going to account for not having Mike Parsons, and how would he adjust to being a defensive coordinator again. And so far, the answer to all of those questions is that he's going to get a little weird with it. Obviously, the version of the defense that we're seeing in training camp is probably not the same one that we're going to see in week 1 against Minnesota. However, everything just seems so much more creative. It seems so much less static than what we saw last year with Hafley. Tons of cornerback blitzes. Cisse has gotten home twice on those. A bunch of other guys have too. DDS at defensive tackle. Edge Cooper walking down to play a little bit of edge rusher. And then also Edge Cooper being part of the 3-man safety group in the prevent formation. Maybe that's a way Gannon can get Edge onto the field on these dime formations that we've been so worried about. That'd be pretty fun, but probably not the best idea to do. But by all accounts, everybody likes him. He's got LVN looking like a starting edge in camp so far. And stuff like that, the cohesion, having your guys buy in is so important at this point in the season. But that's going to do it for me today, guys. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and follow on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. And make sure to give us a share with your friends and family. Let me know what you think about the points I made today. You can find the show on Twitter at SoundsGouda with 3 A's. You can find me as well, kjones_in_co. That's the best place to find me, to find all of my written work I do for Cheesehead TV, as well as my own Substack, Green Bay Breakdowns. And you can also find the Packers-specific draft podcast I just started, Green Bay Breakdowns Draftcast. But until next time, Packers fans, have a Gouda morning, a Gouda afternoon, and a Gouda night. Have an all-around Gouda time, and always remember, be excellent to each other.